Hello everyone, this is Aldelar5, and today I will show something a bit interesting with Bug Fables I've actually been wanting to do this for a long time, but due to time constraint and other project, I could only do it now. And it is to run the entire game on CD. Yes, yes, I'm not joking, on actual CD, these old disc. Where you might wonder why would I want to do this? Uh, I hopefully will explain it nice in this video, but obviously there's no practical use of me doing this. This is just for fun. I just want to do an experiment. Uh, this is not something you can do vanilla. In fact, I will explain. I have the how I have this set up. Is the This is a portable CD player, and it's very close to the mic. The reason I want to do this is because I want to hear when the drive is actually working. So if you hear some vibration or some weird noises, this is the player doing this. Uh, I have the disc right now in the tray. I will now close the tray. It takes a little bit just to detect the disc. There we go. Okay. So this is not entirely the vanilla game. The I put when you install BepNEX, which is a mod loader, because this required a mod. Uh, it comes with a thing called doorstop, which is what allows to run your own code before Unity does. And I had to change an option to tell it here. Normally, by default, this folder is in the game directory. You're supposed to have a BepNEX folder here, and that's where BepNEX lives. That's also where your plugins live, your config of BepNEX and everything. However, I had to change the directory here to one that's in my documents folder. I could no, I don't need to show it. So my BepNEX folder is in my is somewhere in my documents folder, as you saw here. Because you may not know this, but a CDR or RRW, these are actually RW, meaning I can blank them. You cannot write to them after they've been finalized. And this is a problem for Bug Fables because it tries to write its save data and its settings in files in the current directory. That's not going to work with a CD. If you try this, you were actually trying to burn the vanilla game on CD, and you were trying to save it would say save failed because it doesn't have access to it. It's a read-only file system. So I had to do a mod uh, that redirects the folder. I will release the code when this video goes live. It's pretty simple code. I also learned a new harmony library that works a little bit better uh, to the transpilers and such. So what this mod does is it redirects the save file, the save backup, and the setting file inside the root of the BepNEX folder, which I already redirected here. So my saves are actually not going to appear on the game, and they cannot appear on the game. So this allows the game to be fully functional on this. Now here comes the part that's completely expected. I'm going to boot the game, and it will take a very long time before this boots up. So why did I want it to do this? This will take a couple minutes, by the way. I wanted to do this because I find very elegant how Bug Fable is optimized. My phone just rang. Okay, don't pay attention to this. Bug Fable is very optimized file size wise and in terms of loading. it's an extremely small game. I think this entire disc is like around 240 MB. It's a bit higher than the game because I had to include doorstop, but not by much. A CD is 800 MB or something. I think it's around 7 to 800 megabytes. That's very small by today's standard. Like most games, you'll find them at least a gigabyte, but a lot of modern games they go well beyond that, like 10 gigabytes or more. And it is something that annoys me a little bit when games are not really optimized for file size because you have to download this over the internet and everything. But there's also one other thing that this game is optimized that I think will shine a lot on CD. It doesn't load a lot, except on boot. Booting is the only painful time that you'll have in this entire video. Like right now, it's going to take a while, but I actually suspect that any Unity game, if you were to do this mod, it will actually be this painful because it probably has to load up Unity, and it's not something that the game can control. But once the game is booted, you will notice how not bad the loading times are. Oh, there we go. The game has started to boot. Uh, Interestingly, the first time you boot, the Unity logo doesn't appear. And now you see the CD player is going crazy right now. And this will take a couple time. This is the game preloading everything. And that's where I want to point out how beautiful this is. The game preloads a lot of stuff and keeps them loaded, and it only needs to load additional stuff when you change map or go into a battle and such. But the work that it has to do is so little that despite the fact that I have a literal bottleneck in the storage media, it's not going to be as bad as you think it will be. In fact, I was surprised to see that the game was entirely playable, which is interesting. I might need to, just so you can hear the sound. This will take a while, by the way, but once it's booted, it's going. Like, sometimes the CD player might even go to sleep. You'll see what I mean later. Okay, Bug Fables enabled, so this means that I just need to... Okay, I have to open a window on my thing. It's just because usually I don't have the game at a high volume, but for the purpose of this video, I can always increase it. No, it's currently recording audio. Okay, we might not have audio, but this is, yeah, okay, we won't have audio, but we don't need to for this presentation. So sorry about this. So just to make sure, by the way, this, like, okay, there was a little bit of stutter between the time I pressed confirm and the time the settings appeared. There are going to be a little bit of stutters, but they're not that much. Like, they're actually going to go away as you play. So let's say I do this and I come back, and they are actually saved. Like, even if I go to language, which resets the whole game, my saves are loaded and everything. There we go. So the game will work at normal. Copy, delete, everything works. Now I'm going to load the game. There we go, the CD. And then, there we go. Now it's starting to read again because it went to sleep. And then it's not starting to read again. And we should get the thing pretty soon. There we go. Little bit of stutters there, but like I said, they are occasional, but they don't appear this much. Now I'm going to go to the plaza, which should be a demanding map. There's a lot of NPC and stuff to load, but as you can see, this was longer than usual, but it wasn't unbearable to wait. And the game fully plays. Like, I can even load pretty much everything. Like, it loaded all the text. I can talk to people with sometimes a little bit of stutter, which is annoying, but other than that, like, when it loads a map, you can clearly hear that the CD player is doing things. But it's not as bad as you might think. God, that was a little weird. It's probably because it needs to load asset just to do this thing. But yeah, like I can even obviously I'm going to play Might Knight. Why would I not play Might Knight? But yeah, this works perfectly. Okay, I'm not actually going to play the entire thing because I have other stuff to show. But this is just to show that this game, honestly, pretty much works the exact same way than I'm used to. And it's running on a spinning frisbee right now. Which is kind of impressive because of how much the CD aged and how much... Like, I think I ran some numbers and I think... There we go. It went to sleep. So it's not even doing anything right now. Well, it's just keeping the disc turning just to read stuff. But because the game is not acquiring anything from it, it just goes to sleep. And I didn't even need to read when I reloaded this map. And I'm not sure why, but there's some caching going on. Like, if I reload this, you're going to see this was very quick. There's some sort of data caching going on. I'm not sure if it's Unity, the CD player, or Windows that does this, but there's definitely some sort of caching going on so that it doesn't take forever when it has already loaded something before. However, this map, which I've never loaded, there we go. It has, but it didn't took this much. It was like maybe a few seconds more. And then if I go into battle, there we go. It didn't took much longer. So overall, although there might be a little bit of stutters here and there when it leads to occasionally load something, they're going to go away because of the caching as you play. Meaning, honestly, this is surprisingly playable. And in fact, by the way, this will apply to every map that I could find. Like, okay, it does screw up this transition right here where it doesn't really load during the when the screen is black. So you see the screen stalling when Kabu is digging for a while. That's a little bit strange. Obviously, this game was not made to be run on a CD. Like, usually if you had a game that ran on a CD, you will make sure that the loading times... I think they will even put progression bars to let you know that, don't worry, this is actually working. It's just a bit slow right now. So obviously this game was not made to be run on CD. But the fact that these okay, this might stutter. Yeah, it stutters the first time you break a rock. But after that it doesn't anymore. Like, even if I load Termite, which is known to be relatively... Yeah, I think it screwed up the transition right here. They're known to be relatively demanding maps. There's a lot to them. There's a lot of NPC entities and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, this does work. Like, the save does work. Like, I could reload my game right now just to show that saving does work. Thanks to the save redirection mod that I have done. And there we go. You will notice, by the way, that it reloaded the map instantly versus what it did before. Like, I could load the throne room if I wanted. And there we go. Now, once a map is loaded, it's pretty much 95% playable. Like, it's kind of impressive. And this is what I really want to make this put emphasis on this. The game only needs to load when it's absolutely necessary. The fact that I can play this on a decades old media like this is kind of impressive. And this is something that I find pretty interesting considering that this game, well, it's my favorite game. The fact that I can do this says a lot to me about uh says to me a lot about how games don't need to be inefficient for them to be good. In fact, I will argue that I would much rather have a game that's as efficient as this. Like, this is crazy that this works. Uh, than to have a game where you would have a lot of you will make your system work harder for arguably not much reason. Now, there are obviously limits to this. Like I said, this game was not made for this. But the fact that it wasn't even made for this, and the only painful time was the booting of the game, it says a lot to me. It says that a lot of games should take inspiration from, well, this. And if you're curious why, by the way, this is even possible and why this game is so efficient, it is because uh, the game, there we go, went to sleep. The game stores a lot of assets in central places. Most of the texture in the entire game is literally in one PNG file. That's it. Most of the main texture, like this entire map right here, when you see the texture of here, the little blue crown at the background, these little box right here, all of these texture are mostly in one PNG file. And the game doesn't duplicate this file ever. What it does is it keeps referencing that same file. So the footprint of these texture are so ridiculously small. And it's kind of crazy that you can have this much content in a game with this little storage. And these are just for the texture, but I could expand this to the fact that there's no unnecessary duplication of files here. Most of the files in this game only appear once, and the maps just reference the same file over and over. So this is why the game has a very, very small footprint. And the fact that it doesn't need much to preload, because the game we use so much, it can just be like, okay, well, let's preload everything, keep everything in memory, and only when we need to load other maps or stuff, then we're going to go to the disk. That's insane to me. And by the way, just to prove a point about caching, let's say, you know how painful it was when I booted the game? Well, check this. I'm going to close the game. We just make the CD player work a little bit. And I'm going to boot it again. There we go. It booted instantly. The loading time is also going to be minimal on the title screen. As you can see, way faster than it was before. So, I'm not exactly sure who is caching the data, but there's definitely some sort of caching going on. I don't think it's the game's doing. I haven't seen code that specifically does this. It's either the CD player doing some magic, or it's Unity doing some magic. Maybe it caches some stuff. I'm not sure. But it definitely is doing something. This obviously does go away if you say you reboot the computer. You then have to endure the long waiting time. But yeah, so there's no practical need to do this. The reason I wanted to do this is just I wanted to do a fun little experiment, and I wanted to prove a point on how optimized this game is. And I think a lot of game needs to learn from such optimization. So there we go. That was it for me. Thank you for watching.